this is the late show, Arjuna and I have been spending the last practically an hour, is it? Yeah, 15 minutes trying to get this to work. But hey, I'm up country here. Or should I say down country, near the Coromandel. I just come up from the property. And the idea is to have a little bit of Krishna Katha. So with that in mind, we'll chant Hare Krishna to soothe the nerves after 50 minutes of pressing buttons. And all glories to Arjuna for hanging in with a person who's over 21, if you can get what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's do that. We'll just chant a little Hare Krishna, and then we'll go to Srimad Bhagavatam. We just have some kartals. I'm in the car, by the way. And you can just sing along. I don't know if it's there, but if you are, you might look at this later. If anyone is listening live, then just mute your mic and just chant along. And then Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sari Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisya Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jayam Vishnupada Paramahans Paribrajikacharya Astotarasati Srimad His Divine Grace Sabai Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigaho Shikatanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Angama Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Antara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Manandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let's see where we're reading from. I think we're reading from 4th canto, and it's 7th chapter. I think it's text number 9. Tadasva prabhaya tesham jyotayantya dishodasa mushnam teja upanitas Takshena Stotra Vajina. Tad, at that time, Swaprabhaya, by his own effulgence, Tesham, all of them, Jyotayantya, by brightness, Disha, directions, Dasa, 10, Mushnan, diminishing, Tejaha, effulgence, Upanitaha, rod, Takshena, by Garuda, Stotravajina, whose wings are called Brihat and Rathantara. Translation, I think there's a or is there very little purport. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sila Prabhupada. Lord Narayan was seated on the shoulder of Stotra Garuda, who had big wings. As soon as the Lord appeared, all directions were illuminated, diminishing the of Brahma and the others present. Srila Prabhupada's one line. A description of Narayan is given in the following two slokas. The first of the two slokas. Text number 20. Shamo Hiranya Rashno Ka Kirita Justo Nilal Ka Brahma Mandita Kundalasya Sankhabya Sankhabja Chakra Sara Chapagdashi Charma Vyagare. Sorry, it's a Kindle I'm reading from and I'm not used to reading from it, so please forgive me. Hiranmaya Bujhariva Karnikaran Karaha. We'll go straight to the translation. The Lord's complexion was blackish, his yellow like gold, and his helmet as dazzling as the sun. His hair was bluish, the color of black bees, and his face was decorated with earrings. His 8 hands held a shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, arrow, bow, shield, and sword, and they were decorated with golden ornaments, such as bangles and bracelets. His whole body resembled a blossoming tree decorated with various kinds of flowers. I'm going to read that again because it's so beautiful and very poetic. The Lord's complexion was blackish, his garment yellow like gold, and his helmet as dazzling as the sun. His hair was bluish, the color of black bees, and his face was decorated with earrings. His 8 hands held a conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, arrow, bow, shield, and sword, and they were decorated with golden ornaments, such as bangles and bracelets. The Lord's whole body resembled a blossoming tree, fully decorated with various kinds of flowers. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The face of Lord Vishnu, as described in this verse, appears like a lotus flower with bees humming over it. All of the ornaments on the body of Lord Vishnu resemble molten gold of the reddish color, molten gold of the reddish gold color of the morning sunrise. The Lord appears just as the morning sun rises to protect the whole universal creation. His arms display different weapons, and his 8 hands are compared to the 8 petals of a lotus flower. All the weapons mentioned are for the protection of his devotees. Generally, in the 4 hands of Vishnu, There are wheel, club, conch shell, and lotus. These four symbols are seen in the four in different arrangements. The club and the wheel are the Lord's symbols of punishment for the demons and miscreants, and the lotus flower and conch shell are used to bless the devotees. There are always classes of men, the devotees, and the demons, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Paritraya Sadhunam. The Lord is always ready for the protection of the devotees and annihilation of the demons. There are demons and devotees in this material world, but in the spiritual world there is no distinction. In other words, Lord Vishnu is the proprietor of both the material and spiritual worlds. In the material world, almost everyone is of the demonic nature. But there are also devotees who appear to be in the material world, although they are always situated in the spiritual world. A devotee's position is always settled, and he is always protected by Lord Vishnu. Om Ganati Mirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yen Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master is forcing me to my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto his lotus feet. So, this discussion in the fourth canto of the pastimes of personality of Godhead and his devotees is very helpful to us in many, many ways. The subject of becoming a devotee is quite a challenge, you could say. Even the great personalities are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a very nice one that says, Ekali Ishvara Krishna Arasabhabritya, that there is only one Supreme Lord, Ekali Ishvara Krishna, that is Krishna, and everyone else is his servant. So even Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma was being addressed by Narad, and he was saying, my Lord, you are the creator of this universe. So it is seen, also this is in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, is seen that it appears that someone is very exalted, and that is the case. There are so many different levels of exaltation. Lord Brahma is said to have up to 78%. Lord Shiva is more than that, maybe 80. I'm not sure the percentages just off the top of my head. And even Lord Vishnu is 98 something percent, 8% like that. But it's only Krishna who has those extra four qualities that designate him as Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, from whom all other expansions and plenary portions and portions of plenary portions, they are manifest. Ite chamsa kala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Yokam Mridayanti Yuge. So they're all expansions of Krishna. This is gone to great lengths by the great acharyas in our line to establish the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. Krishna himself says that Mata para kinchasti dhananjaya, O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. There is no truth. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's so many verses that are explaining in that way, and then Arjuna, he confirms this. Yes, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Param Paramambhavam. You're the supreme absolute truth. You're the one that is established by all the great sages, such as Asita, Davali, and Vyas. They have declared this of you, and you are proclaiming it unto me. So there is only one Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is manifest in so many ways and to so many capacities through his unlimited expansions. Both the living entity is the small vipinam, so the small particle. And the problem, and we're relating all of what I'm saying goes back to this subject of the Daksha Yagya and the interactions with Lord Shiva. The living entity is that he focuses too much on his minute independence. We have the independence, but that is very, very small. We are described as Supreme Lord as Vibhu. Nicho Nichanam Chetanas Chetananam. There are so many eternals, but there's one supreme eternal. And that supreme eternal is supplying all the necessities of all the dependent eternals. So we have independence, but it's very small. And the tendency that we have, the interaction with the children, they forget that they think themselves completely independent. In so many ways, you see this. And the parents are thinking, please, if there's a little gratitude shown, I've taken you to the beach, or I've taken you to the forest, or I've taken you wherever I've taken you. I'm providing all the transport, I'm providing the lunch, I'm providing the entertainment, I'm providing help for you to go wherever it go through. So the reciprocation has to be there. It's quite an amazing, because that changes. Everything in the material world is always changing. It's honestly, yeah, that's another whole big subject. But it changes, and we can lose sight of abundance on the supreme for everything, and think ourselves to be the doer. Prakrite manani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankaratma. Under the ahankara, or the false ego, the very foolish entities, they consider themselves to be the doer activities which are actually carried out by nature, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So it's quite it's absolutely magical that we think ourselves to be in. But somebody just yesterday saying to me that one of their friends had become paralyzed on one side of their body. I want to say, but I thought, no, not quite the appropriate time. But this just shows that we are not in control at all. We think, oh, this is my body. I can move hand, I can move my left hand, I can move my head and all the joints of my. But actually, it is going on under another superior control, the Supreme Lord. Maya Jakshena Prakrite Suyate Sacharacharam. This material nature is doing everything, but it's working control under my direction, Krishna says. So this is the magic. The Supreme Personality has unlimited potency. And Jiva Goswami says that is absolutely prerequisite for understanding anything about devotional service, is to appreciate that the power of the Supreme Lord is inconceivable. I was listening to Srila Prabhupada yesterday, and he was making the point that there are unlimited planets in this universe, and there are unlimited universe, only a fragmental part of the Supreme glory, or the cosmic manifestation is 1/4. Ekapad Vibhuti, the Lord's manifestation. So there's trillions of planets, there's universe, and you think, how is this possible? It's got to be impossible. Yes, by logic and art, it cannot be understood. It is not to be understood by the blunt material tenses. Sri Krishna Nabhadev, Nabhaved Griyamandriya, Sevan Mukhi Jiva Swayameva Spuratyada. I cannot be understood by blunt material senses. That includes the mind and the intellect. It includes any nation. I cannot be understood in that way, Krishna says. But I reveal myself to my devotees when I'm pleased with them for their transcendental loving service. It's all about loving. And he, who is a very exalted personality, speaking about this the other day, we shouldn't think, oh, he was just a big upper. But he was such an exalted son of Lord Brahma, direct son of Lord Brahma. And he was performing a great yagya, a great sacrifice for the benefit of the whole universe. So he wasn't misdirected in that sense. But he is the jiva. And the jiva's tendency, proclivity, confused, bewildered, call it what we may, to of ahankara. And that was Daksha's one. Now, we may have a similar problem. That we get puffed up. It said in the age of Kali that we get proud. Even the pauper who has nothing becomes proud if he has a penny, some small thing. We get proud. Very, very prevalent. So this was the case of Daksha. He became proud when Lord Shiva entered the assembly. He didn't rise. He thought, hey, Lord Shiva's my son-in-law. I'm his father-in-law, and I am in charge here, and I'm doing everything. And he wasn't consciously aware. He lost his Krishna consciousness, and he became a conscious of his position in the social strata of life, and he committed great offense. But the amazing of Daksha, he was such a great personality. He was he was killed. He was given the benediction by Lord Shiva that he'd continue the yagya, and he was given a goat's head. Now, thinking of that earlier, even if we have a blemish on skin somewhere, we're concerned about it. How do I look? Or my hair? If somebody chopped a big clump of hair off your head, you'd be like, what to do? I have to hide away. He's got a goat's head. Prabhupada goes into aspects, just saying that the personality was still there, although the body changed. He compared it to Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj in the body of a deer, but he was still fully conscious of his state of consciousness as Bharat Maharaj. So he had the body of a deer, was consciously aware of that he was actually Bharat Maharaj in another body. So in a similar, Daksha was given the goat's head, but he was so ill, actually. He became humbled by the whole punishment of Lord Shiva, that he was able to accept it. There's a famous verse that we pretty much all know, Tateno kampam susamikshamanam punjana evatma kritam vapakam pridvagbapur virvidham namaste jivet mukta sade sadayabak. This famous verse is there that a person who can see the reversals in life as the special mercy of the Lord, and due to my past karmic activities, I was due so much more reaction, but somehow this reversal has come upon me. Let me continue with my heart, with my words, and with my devotion to worship the Supreme and accept that this is due to my own misdeed, blame. That person, explained by Lord Brahma, is his rightful gain is to gain liberation of freedom from this material existence. So it may be, oh yes, I did something, and we can get it together, and be able to go beyond that and see this is okay. Fair enough. I should have hand cut or cut my finger. We can just about deal with that. But to be killed and to have a goat's head on, and then to stand up in front of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Brahmins, especially Brahmins, performing this yagya, and it's such an amazing assembly, and to go ahead and lead that assembly with a goat's head, which is saying, I am an offender, I have been punished. So he was very humble, actually. So this is a very interesting, and that is the nature, or as we can go through life as a person trying to become a devotee. Tendency is that we get all puffed up when we think, yes, I'm doing very well, I'm a devotee, I'm a great devotee, I'm in charge of this, or I'm in charge of that. Pride precedeth the fall, and we fall into illusion in some way, in some shape, and somehow or other. And you know what we have to do after that is we have to pick ourselves up and continue on the path with all humility. That Lord Chaitanya said that this Trinada piece inichena tarori vasahishnuna amanina manadina kirtaniya sadahari. This verse should be strung around the neck of the holy name. Should be have this along with our chanting, because we're going to have to eat that humble pie. That's the prasadam, the mercy that's on offer is called humble pie. And you think, wow, I thought that's some humble pie. You want me to eat some more? Yeah, that's that's on the menu for the devotee, humble pie, ki jai. So we should get used to eating it, and actually we could get a taste for it. It's quite tasty, actually, the humility. When we put on a false humility, it's not so flavorsome, actually. But if we can get a little bit of genuine, then it becomes quite tasty. And that's what the devotees of the Lord are, the real devotees. And when we do make mistake, Daksha made a mistake. We see even Lord Shiva himself in another past. We see that he's attracted by the Mohini Murti. He was bewildered. And that we see Lord Brahma was attracted in one form of Lord Brahma at that time, was attracted to his daughter. We see that this is going on all the time because no one is the supreme personality of Godhead. Only Krishna is the supreme personality of it. And by him, it says in the first um, sloka, by him alone, all the deities and rishis and demigods placed into illusion. So they're placed into different times. We see Lord was placed into illusion when he performed a little penis, when he stole the cowherd boys and calves from Krishna. Then he was placed in, and he was bewildered. He said, "How is this possible? I thought I was here, and this little boy is there." We see Indra falls into illusion. It sends all the clouds to devastate, pretty heavy, to devastate Vrindavan and the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So it should not be a surprise to us to become covered. There's a beautiful in the 11th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, "Should continue whatever our position in devotional life, because we could become overwhelmed. Wow, even Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord, one seems to get bewildered. What chance have I got?" Srila Prabhupada said, yes, we could see it that way, but he said the devotee shouldn't see it that way. Chance have I got, let me give up. But he said that we should see how strict I shall, that even personalities, so exalted personalities, again Daksha, Prajapati Daksha, can become bewildered. So what chance do I have? He said we should see that that I have to be so attentive. I have to be so careful. Srila Prabhupada explained that devotional service is like a razor's edge. If you have I was with Bhakti yesterday down there. He makes very beautiful. That's Gopaladev and Heranyangis. So he makes very beautiful knives. He's become a craftsman. Actually, he makes these. He said I get so many orders. Everyone wants one, and they're cheap. They're very special. It takes long time to make them and craft them. And he was sharpening with a piece of paper. Father doesn't like the noise of this paper. He was trying to sharpen it. He can make sharp that you can shave with it. It's so precise. You can just get the hair. He shows a little bit of his leg, a little bit of hair on his leg, and so he's able to shave it. So the point was that Srila Prabhupada said that devotional service is like this edge. Sharpened razor, you can shave very nicely, but a little slip, a little inattention, and it can create a lot of blood. There can be a lot of problem. So, pardon me. So that is the thing that is always there, is that there is always danger on the royal road while we're here in the material world. So we are advised then to constantly. I'm sorry, I'm trying to focus here, and the birds are starting. distracted and the birds are chirping. I'm just going to close the window. It might just, yeah, it's that time. So we have, oh yes, so that verse in the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that even though one has awakened the attraction, Jata Shraddha Matshu, one has awakened attraction in the topics of the Krishna Katha, and knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result. He knows that he may still sometimes be unable to overcome the attraction to the material world and engage in sense gratification. Krishna goes on to explain that, that even though that should remain happy and continue worshiping me with great determination, even though he knows that that's the case, he should be what is it, remorseful, not guilt-ridden to the point he becomes immobile and feels that it's hopeless, let me give up, like that. But he should be remorseful. That is sincere devotee. Krishna is also known as Bhavagrahi Janardhan. He knows the bhava or the devotee, even though he may want to become Krishna conscious, but if he may have some difficulty, knows his sincerity is there, and if he's remorseful or remorseful enough that I don't want to be in a fallen condition, I don't want to be bewildered or illusioned to deviate in some way or form, but due to weakness of heart, to conscious being overcome by the material in whatever way we become overcome, then Krishna knows sincere intention. So he says, continue happily. Tatoba jeta mam pritaha. Prita means happily. So remain happy, continue in the process. And just like Daksha, we can continue. And judgment comes from the great Vaishnavanam Yatasam. Lord Shiva is known as the greatest of all Vaishnavas. So he's giving punishment not out of avarice, not out of envy of Daksha, but he's doing it to rectify him. So he can take a heavy punishment because his personality. So the heavy punishment is there. We may not be, Krishna going to handle us in a way that we can't deal with. Daksha could dealt with it. And he actually saw it as a great mercy of Lord Shiva, because the Vaishnava Pad, he's the greatest Vaishnava, and therefore, if he had not been punished, if Daksha had not been punished by Lord Shiva, then he would be destined for a very, very dim future due to great Vaishnava Parad. So the Lord will reciprocate perfectly. He is all loving, all kind, all knowing, and he reciprocates with his devotee in such a way that he will be able to deal with it also. When he dealt with his different disciples, he dealt with them in a way which they were able to deal with. If they were, we told the story a while back, Harikesh Maharaj had a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, and so did all the different intimate disciples. Srila Prabhupada, there's a nice story in that connection. He went, he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was getting frustrated by his terrible chapatis. He said, these chapatis they're either all dry, or they're too crispy, or they're too doughy, or whatever they were. He couldn't make any decent chapatis. And Harikesh was saying, well, no one can make chapatis wherever we go. No one could do it. So they got to one place where there was a stove, and Harikesh presented Prabhupada, said, this is useless, this is hopeless. And then Harikesh said, no one could make chapatis on this stove. And it was a difficult situation. I won't go into the details. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada walked past him into the kitchen, and he started to make one chapati, and Harikesh was watching Prabhupada, and then he made the chapati, and it didn't pop when he put it on to puff up, and Harikesh was like, yeah, he couldn't make it either. Prabhupada got another chapati, put it on, cooked it, turned it, put it on the flame, and it puffed up beautifully. And Srila Prabhupada took it and threw it right, right in Harry Keshi's face. Prabhupada walked out, and uh, he said, "No one can do it." So Harry Kesh was in ecstasy because he was Srila Prabhupada was able to reciprocate in a way. He wouldn't do that with Shruti Prabhu, because Shruti Kirti was a different kind. Different story. Prabhu had a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna knows all of us. He knows our heart just perfectly, and he will protect us from any difficulty if we continue. The way to do that is by association of the Vaishnavas, by constantly hearing these pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, their interactions, how everything comes into chaos, and then it's rectified, put back in its place, and everyone is benefited from that. In a similar way, that's our position, to take that association of those persons through the hearing about them and associating with what would we say, committed devotees who are always eager to hear and chant about the glories of the Lord and his devotees. Normally I'd open up if there was anyone there. I have absolutely no idea. I'll pause for a few seconds because I don't even want to look at the phone. There's so many buttons and buttons. If anyone has anything they would like to say, please feel free. I'll stop for a few seconds. Something said something. Oh, I don't know where something went beep, beep, but wouldn't have a clue it might be. But we might finish there. Hopefully someone gets a chance to view this maybe a little later. Let me, I can't, I would press the wrong button most likely. Yeah, sorry, not very experienced on button loca.